Ooh, let's look at this new pretty video Raz made.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Corpse Garden Chronicles Epitaphs. We are in season 2, and we have a better idea of what we're doing. With me tonight is my wonderful friend, Zombie Angel. Hello, Zombie Angel.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. I am so happy you're here to talk with me about the story. But first, a little information on moving forward with the Corpse Garden Chronicles. The Corpse Garden Chronicles Epitaphs, which my lovely, amazing friend Raz has helped me figure out, are going to be the ones where we come and we just tell you scary stories that we have gotten permission to read from our amazing friends. And then the normal Corpse Garden Chronicles, we are going to tell more about death and dying and what that entails. On our next episode, we are going to give more information about the getting ready to die part, what you need to have and what you need to do to be ready. So your family has less stress on them after you have passed. And you have more peace of mind knowing what's going to happen to you. But my first question I should probably ask my wonderful zombie angel friend is, have you heard any of Tish McWebber's story so far?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, I get to read you your first one. I am so happy. Have you looked at any of her wonderful social media about the Tishspiration Station and any of her other wonderful things going on?
That would be interesting to do, but no.
Okay. How are you doing this evening?
Fine. How are you?
I am good. Do you walk through cemeteries often?
I avoid doing that.
Why?
New ones are too... The spirits haven't settled yet, and there isn't any old ones around here to walk through.
That makes perfect sense. I did not know you were mediumistic.
Nah, I just don't like to mess with stuff that could possibly haunt me for the rest of my life.
Ah, whereas I have found peace in cemeteries where I am not at home at some times. So that is also another thing we will touch upon as we go through Corpse Garden Chronicles. But okay, I am going to start by reading the story, and if you will mute your mic, I'm going to read, and then afterwards we will talk about the story and a couple of other things. Sound good, Angel? Zombie
Yep.
Angel? Alrighty.
Sounds good with me.
Okay. Wonderful lovelies, gather around. We are going to read The Web of Nightmares by Tish McWebber because we need a little bit of Tishpiration in our life. Ludwig von Hairball awoke with a shudder. It happened again. Another nightmare about Whisper the spider. The frequency of these nightmares is escalating, he thought. He couldn't even have a cat nap without nightmares scaring him from dreamland, and he stood his hind end up in a lengthy stretch all the way to his front claws. Ludwig swished his tail back and forth in agitation, and he stalked off to check his food dish. Clara kept her end up of their bargain. He had all the tuna and cream he wanted. She would go out every day and get him fresh tuna steak. His mouth watered as he thought about his last meal. With a final tail flick, the nightmare flew out of his mind as he left to search for Clara. When he couldn't find her, he used the cat door to go outside to the backyard garden. It was pleasant to live here, even with the bargains he had made to remain a guest at Clara's home. Not that long ago, he lived in a cave with an evil witch as his companion. Ruby didn't have a clue when she sent him to keep Clara under his paw that he would face a more tempting offer, the nip. Clara joined Sandy and her crew to take down the Dark Fae. The bonus? Ludwig von Hairball as a perfect double agent. They foiled Ruby's plan with the nip. Instead of Ludwig being in control of Clara and reporting to Ruby, he ended up with a serious addiction to the catnip Clara gave him. He didn't discover her source yet, but he would do anything she asked of him to keep the nip coming. Ludwig wanted some more nip, but Clara could not be found in the backyard either. When he got outside, he sauntered off to the edge of the property to do his business. Clara refused to set up a litter box for him. He didn't mind going outside to relieve himself. It kept his small remaining independence to be able to walk the perimeter of the property when he needed to. Otherwise, he would report to Ruby once a week. She still did not understand how her plans got ruined. Neither did Ludwig, which suited him fine. He would be more effective as a double agent if he maintained the plausible deniability of the whole story. You overheard Sandy mention Operation Let It Glow. But that was more than he cared to figure out. Ruby was easy to fool. She didn't have the details. He didn't have the details, so he couldn't tell her why her plan for Sweet Nothing failed. Personally, he thought building an army with cupcakes was half-baked. He didn't have another option. When he put up with Ruby and her plans, since moving in with Clara, he experienced the good life and he didn't want to ruin it. After finishing his business, he buried the evidence and headed out for a walk. As a double agent, he played both sides, the light fae and the dark fae. to his own advantage. Keeping the wool pulled over Ruby's eyes was too easy. Clara had been a tough nut to crack, but once Ludwig succumbed to the nip, she softened up a little. Without planning to, Ludwig von Hairball found himself in his old neighborhood. He crept through the glamour, his senses on high alert. Today wasn't the day he should report to Ruby. She might become suspicious if she caught him snooping around. He slinked forward, keeping his body close to the ground. Ludwig was moving so carefully that he almost missed the glow moving towards the cave entrance from inside. He leapt behind a bush to avoid being seen. The glow became brighter until he saw the source. Violet, the will-o'-the-wisp, who almost foiled Ruby's plan for the cupcakes, was flitting off through the glamour of the hidden cave entrance. Well, now Ludwig von Hairball was nothing if he wasn't a cat, and curiosity had both cost him and saved him a few of his 9 lives. But what to do with this recent information, he wondered. On one paw, he could follow Violet and try to figure out what she was up to. On the other paw, he was certain that he could make Ruby spill the beans to him. However, it wasn't the right day to be checking in with her. Ludwig walked back through the glamour and followed the glow back to his new backyard. Violet hovered in the forest near the garden for a few minutes. What was she doing? Ludwig speculated. Just before he thought Violet would reveal her next action, Clara appeared from within the house. She looked across the lawn for him, and when she appeared, Violet disappeared. 1 second she was there, and the next she wasn't. Since he no longer needed to hide, he wandered over to the cottage and followed Clara inside. As soon as he was inside, he raced to his food dish. It was still empty. With a meow, Ludwig voiced his concern about her neglect as he batted his empty dish with his paw to make sure she'd gotten the hint. Clara looked at him and winked. Ludwig raised the whiskers of his right cheek at her. She never denied him his tuna cream before. He suspected her motives, and his stomach joined his cries of disconnect with a rumble. I found him. There was someone else here. Who was Claire talking to? Sandy entered the kitchen. Oh, great. Sandy was the reason he had to continue going to see Ruby to keep up appearances. She was not his favorite person to deal with. She expected reports and answers, which she would relay to her father, General Decath, the leader of the Light Fae army. Like him, Sandy was a double agent of sorts. She was half elf, and she blended her 2 halves by bouncing between the human and elfin realms. After she helped Clara to foil Ruby's plan, she recruited Clara to the Light Fae as a human contact. Their friendship became stronger as they worked together. Clara wasn't assigned to a mission of her own yet. She was still in training. Ludwig wrinkled his nose as he realized the pair had just returned from a training session at the gym where Sandy worked. Part of the training was going to the gym together. Clara was learning how to defend herself at the gym, how to protect herself from another dark Fae attack at the same time. It must be time for another lesson. Before Ludwig could stomp off away from the ladies, he smelled another cat. His fur bristled, and he prepared for battle. No way was he letting another cat move in on him. He crept towards the smell and found it was from an orange cat. As soon as the other cat noticed him, a rumble of a purr came from it. Ludwig von Hairball had always been a loner. He didn't have much experience with a cat who wasn't ready for a fight. Hello! The orange cat began cleaning her right paw, extending her claws and not taking her eyes off of him. Hi. Ludwig was not expecting to hear a feminine voice. I'm with Sandy. My name is Pumpkin. I hear you were playing on both sides of the fence. You know a lot more about me than I know about you. I feel like I am at a disadvantage here in my own home. Ludwig narrowed his eyes at Pumpkin. Let's get out of here. Show me around like a true gentleman, and I will forgive all. Ludwig was at a loss for words, which was a first for him. Well, Pumpkin stood up and stretched. What do you want to see? Ludwig wasn't exactly prepared to share his world with the cat he just met, no matter how she piqued his curiosity. Sandy would save her home. Pardon me. Uh, Sandy thought I would save her some time if I started delivering the nip and getting her reports at the same time. I'm here to get the grand tour. Dealing with me would be more pleasant than Sandy. Wouldn't it, Ludwig? Pumpkin's tail swished from side to side. For the first time in his 9 lives, Ludwig understood what people meant when they asked if the cat got your tongue. He was out of sorts by this turn of event. He closed his eyes for a moment. He composed himself. When he was in charge of his own faculties again, he turned and led the way out the door. Pumpkin bounced in the backyard and exclaimed about how lovely it was. She checked out the entire area while Ludwig sat on the deck observing his new handler. She seemed obvious to him as she explored. She was so confident. Ludwig wished to be more like her, but his path had always strayed to the dark side. Even now, with his sweet dill he had going on, he still had to keep watch over both shoulders. Pumpkin returned to the deck and sat facing Ludwig. After a moment, she made herself more comfortable, laying down with all four paws tucked out of sight. So, I know it isn't the normal day for your report, but I am wondering if you gathered any intel since you last spoke with Sandy. Pumpkin stared intensely at Ludwig's eyes. Ludwig looked away for a moment. He didn't know what to say. Could he trust Pumpkin? Should he? He didn't trust Sandy. Clara seemed harmless when he moved in, but Sandy was training her. How long would he be safe here? Safe there? His past was shady. He knew that. Could he turn his life around with the chances they had given him? Did he even want to? After weighing his options, he decided he didn't have any at all. So he told Pumpkin about his walk, about finding Violet leaving Ruby's cave. Earlier that afternoon, she listened to his story and repeated the report back to him to make sure she had all the details. Pumpkin stood up after a lengthy stretch and meowed. A moment later, Catnip floated down to Ludwig from the air. He didn't fathom how the catnip appeared to float from above to him, and he didn't care. He indulged himself with and was full rolling in the nip mode when he remembered Pumpkin was still there. He stopped and asked her if she would like to roll in his nip. Oh no, Ludwig. That is for you to enjoy. I have all the nip I want at Sandy's. I prefer a more delicate blend. With a flick of her tail, she sauntered around the corner of the cottage and was out of sight. Even with the catnip, though, she was not out of Ludwig's mind. He had his fill of nip and ran through the backyard for a bit. He chased a few butterflies and burned off the energy he had from the nip before crashing. He fell asleep in the backyard, thinking about Pumpkin. He followed her in his dreams. She flicked her tail excitedly at him as she walked. The next thing he knew, she had turned on him. Her claws were out, and she shrieked at him, calling him a murderer. She was screeching for whispers, saying he would pay for the death of the spider. Before he defended himself, Whisper appeared. He was approaching Ludwig while starting a web to trap him in. With each step of his 8 legs, Whisper grew inside. Ludwig tried to run, but his paws wouldn't move. His paws got caught in the spider webs. He tried to call for help, but he was being spun in the spider web, trapped and helpless. As whispers closed in to bite him, he awoke with a start. Ludwig crouched on all fours, ready to defend himself, looking everywhere for the spider. He was alone in the backyard. After a few minutes, he gave himself a good shake and headed into the cottage. While he had been sleeping, the day turned into evening. It was time for some tuna and cream, but now he had worked up an appetite with the effects of the catnip and the nightmare combined. He wandered into the kitchen. Clara was there, so he used his paw to tap the empty dish. She looked up and smiled, knowing Ludwig's desire. She filled the dish with tuna and poured some fresh cream in another bowl, which she placed near the bowl with tuna. Ludwig walked between her legs and rubbed against them in gratitude and began feasting on the tuna. When he finished, he lapped up the cream and got ready to take another catnip. He woke in panic in the wee hours of the morning. He took a minute to check his surroundings and noticed a glow in the kitchen. Since he was already on high alert, he crept towards the glow. As he approached the kitchen, he heard chanting. He recognized the voice. Ruby casting one of her spells. The glow came from Violet, who softly moaned while Ruby focused on her spell. Curiosity got the better of Ludwig. Once again, he watched them in silence. They were near his dishes. He watched in horror as the water in his bowl flashed red and bubbled. He watched as mist rose out of the bowl and took the shape of a horse and galloped in his direction. It happened so fast he had no time to hide. It ran inside his mind as he fell unconscious. Well, he was catching on to our plot, Violet. Then what are we going to do? Violet stammered. For the moment, I will cast a quick spell to erase his memory of anything that happened tonight before the nightmare took him for his ride. We were almost out of the remains of your departed companion anyway. One more night of terrors, for after tonight we will finish him. Nobody, and I mean nobody, double crosses Ruby. I didn't think he had the guts to try playing such a dangerous game. By the time he figures it out, what is going on, he will be a goner. Her shrill voice helped her cast a second spell on Ludwig after she told Violet to wait outside. A light turned on down the hallway from the kitchen. Clara had awakened. She wasn't sure what woke her up. She decided to get a glass of warm milk. Clara walked into the kitchen, saw the cat door swinging. She thought nothing of it until she almost tripped on Ludwig. who appeared to be asleep on the floor. Clara bent over to give him an apologetic pat on the head. It was then she realized something was wrong. Had he overdosed on catnip? Was that possible? She gently shook him and he didn't wake up. Clara hadn't had a pet before, and she knew her friend Sandy would know what to do. She sent Sandy an urgent text message asking her what to do. Sandy replied by asking Clara to check for his pulse and told her how to do it. Clara put the cell phone down long enough to check it out. She reported that Ludwig still had a pulse. Sandy's next message told her to hold on, she would be there soon. After what seemed like a long time, Sandy knocked on the door. She had come to the back door since Clara mentioned she found Ludwig on the floor in the kitchen. Clara let her in, and even though Ludwig had been spying on her for Ruby, enough time had passed for her to grow fond of the black cat. She believed he might have trusted her too, at least to make sure he fed her well. While Sandy calmed Clara down and assured her she was acquainted with someone who could examine Ludwig for her, she had her team scope out the cottage properly for any sign of what happened to Ludwig. When they reported to her they found they found no trace of anything inside the cottage, she told them to widen their search and to pay attention to Violet and Ruby. Pumpkin had relayed Ludwig's report to Sandy, and her instincts told her that they caused this commotion. Sandy got Clara to tell her anything she had remembered, and the second time through the story, she remembered the cat door had been swinging. It had almost caused her to trip on her cat, and in the worry about her pet, she had forgotten about the minor detail. Sandy advised Clara to pack an overnight bag and to stay in her guest room at her place. Within a few minutes, Clara was ready. Sandy took her to her home, where Pumpkin anxiously awaited the news about Ludwig. Sandy showed Clara to her guest room where to find the face cloths and towels. Clara wanted to take a few minutes to regain her composure before anybody else saw her. Sandy took those few minutes after getting Ludwig into the soft cat bed to text her father. Elves didn't like everything that humans created in the world, but they had a fondness for Apple products. I love that part of the story. What they could use to enhance their fight against the dark fae that would not harm the natural world was fair game. Her father replied that he would send their animal handler and a druid to check out Ludwig. They would determine if it was a health issue needing the attention of a veterinarian or if it was another sort of attack. Within a few minutes, the two arrived in Sandy's garden. She invited them in and showed them where Ludwig was waiting. The animal handler, Fenella Larkin, examined Ludwig. She opened his eyes and the mouth to look for any signs of medical ailment. With a general body search for wounds, she concluded that it may not be a medical concern. Then Amberly Moonstone set her near Ludwig. Her talents sometimes allowed her to be an observer into the mind of her patients, and this would be more challenging than normal for her. Normally, it was a mutual agreement what it is and is not acceptable for the peering of in another's mind. Ludwig was not conscious to have the discussion, so he may reject her attempt to visualize what was happening to him. to him. If he did, it would answer the question of what happened. That would show a magical attack, but not allow them to determine the cause. She prepared the ingredients she needed for her tea. She was born with the gifts that led her to study to become druid. Her tools of the trade were all natural, grown by herself if possible. This way, she ensured the purity of each ingredient before she ingested the tea. After Sandy boiled water, Amberly sipped at the tea while explaining what she planned to do. I will be in a trance-like state for 15 or 20 minutes. If I am not back and alert in 30 minutes, there is a danger I may not escape from my observations. If I get pulled into Ludwig's mind further than I need to be, in case this happens, I am going to leave some smelling salts with you, Sandy, to pull me back. They have never been necessary, but I do not understand what is happening to Ludwig. At the moment, at the 20-minute mark, if I am not back with you, give me the extra 10 minutes to escape. Not a minute longer. Whatever you do, do not open the container until 30 minutes have passed. I hope that will not be necessary. With that, she finished her tea and settled herself on the floor near Ludwig. Sandy started the timer right away. A hush fell over the room. Sandy saw how nervous Clara was. He reassured her that Amberly would sort this out. They sat quietly, counting the minutes as they waited. As Amberly closed her eyes, she breathed in slow, rhythmic breaths. She counted to 10 in her mind and let it wander as it left her body. As she explored her new surroundings, she kept Ludwig in her thoughts and tried to reach out to him, and she wasn't ready for what happened next. A nightmare came running directly for her and trampled her underneath its hoofs. When it stepped on where her forehead would be in relation to her consciousness, she lost her awareness. The next thing she knew was that she found Ludwig. He ran past her. He ran as fast as she could, past her as fast as he could. When he turned to see what he was running from, she saw the largest, most insubstantial spider running towards her. Without another thought, she began running after Ludwig to escape the spider. The spider cackled as it chased them, saying it was thrilled that we thrilled it by being two mice in a chase instead of one. This sent shivers down Amberly's spine. Even though she left her body in Sandy's living room, she sensed she was being hunted. And the only way to end the chase was to let herself become the victim of the spider. She wasn't willing to give up her life to this creature. Ludwig von Hairball had been running as long as he could remember. He knew that he would need to escape alive, or he would die, similarly to what he did to the Whispers. Getting caught in the webs terrified him. They'd seemed to move closer to him with every step. He heard the taunts of his former victim Whispers as he ran, but Ludwig noticed something different this time. He saw a woman. She was being chased along with him. He did not understand how she got herself involved in this, nor what part she played in the death of Whispers. He thought he was the only one responsible for killing Whispers, except for Ruby, who ordered the death of the spider. When he looked over his shoulder, the woman was following him. Ludwig took a chance and darted off the path into the bushes. He paused for a moment, and the woman almost ran past him. When she saw he had stopped, she backed up. "Who are you?" whispered Ludwig. I am Amberly Moonstone, druid to the elves of the light. You must be Ludwig. Yes, I am. How are you here? Where are we? And how do we end this terror? You don't understand why this is happening? That explains why we can't wake you up. Can you tell me what happened? I remember hearing a noise in the kitchen, and I investigated. After that, things get a little fuzzy. Do you remember anything else? Anything at all? Ludwig paused for a moment. He seemed to try very hard to remember. No, I can't remember at all. The spider is dead. I ate him and spit him up by command of Ruby the Witch. I don't know how this is even possible. He looked around for a moment, then inspected his companion. Does your head hurt, Amberly? He looked puzzled as he asked her. My head? No. Why do you ask? Amber squinted her eyes at Ludwig. There is a funny mark on it in the shape of a horseshoe. Oh, I guess there is. It should be important, but like you, I am drawing a blank on what happened. We had better get moving before the spider finds us. Ludwig sunk low in the ground and crawled in front of Amberly. She crouched down and followed him. They moved away from the area whispers had been chasing them. But while they were sneaking away, Ludwig found himself caught in a web. Whispers had set a trap for them while they had been hiding. Ludwig yowled in rage as he struggled to break free from the web. The more he struggled, the louder Whispers laughed with evil glee. He approached Ludwig, who spit and hissed at him. It wasn't long before it wrapped Ludwig from nose to tail in spider webs. Now where did the other little mouse go? Whisper was scanning the area to find Amberly. Aha! There you are, little mouse. The next thing she knew, she was being spun around and around. With a strong smell filled her nostrils. She tried to shake her head, but the web held tight until she sneezed. With that sneeze, she just lodged herself from the spider web to find that she regained consciousness in Sandy's living room floor. She was disoriented, but after she blew her nose, she asked for a pen and paper. Sandy and Clara watched in silence as Amberly wrote furiously on the paper. When she finished, she looked up and asked for a glass of water. After taking a sip, she reviewed what she wrote. This is not a medical issue. After I got to the sleep-like state, a nightmare ran over me. It was a defense spell of the spellcaster who did this to Ludwig. If I had not given you the smelling salts, the nightmare would still have me trapped with Ludwig. Neither one of us would get out alive. He is in grave danger. Amberly closed her eyes for a moment unsuccessfully and tried to hide the shudder that passed through her body. What can we do? Clara was on the verge of tears. Ludwig was her responsibility, and she had failed him. She hadn't been able to keep him safe. Amberly took the smelling salts and went close to Ludwig von Hairball's head. She held the salts up under his nose and whispered in his ear, "The spider is dead. It is time to wake up now." She sat back from him and repeated these actions 2 more times. On the 3rd try, Ludwig snorted. She held the salts closer under his nose until he sneezed himself awake, just like she had. Is he all right? Clara peeked over Amberly's shoulder. We will see in a few minutes. Give him some space. Emberly sat a little further away and tilted her head to one side as she watched. Sandy had been watching closely, and she heard what Amberly had whispered to Ludwig. What were you saying about a dead spider? Sandy raised an eyebrow at Clara as she asked. Someone trapped Ludwig in a nightmare where a spider was chasing him. It was chasing me too. As the nightmare trapped me within Ludwig's nightmare. When we had a moment, he told me that he had killed the spider and it was dead. He had also helped me by pointing out a mark on my forehead. I didn't understand it while I was trapped, but after I woke, I recognized it as the mark of a nightmare spell. Whoever casts a spell has some serious skills. Ludwig told me he had seen Violet and Ruby together. Could they have been the source of this? Pumpkin was lying on the floor with her tail swishing from side to side. I think so. I need to call my father about this right away. Sandy left the room to report the findings to her father. Ludwig opened his eyes and looked around the room. His brow furrowed a bit because of the unfamiliar surroundings. He relaxed a bit when he saw Clara and Pumpkin. You! Came right out of Ludwig's mouth as his eyes found Amberly Moonstone. A moment of panic crossed his face as he started looking around the room. It's all right, Ludwig. We are awake. The spider is gone. Amberly had another little shudder. And you need to go too, Ludwig, Sandy announced this as she came back from the living room. Your life is in danger. We need to get you into the KPP right away. The what? Clara looked to Sandy for an answer. The Kitten's Protection Program. Ludwig, you thought you had it good with Clara. Well, you just wait. You are now officially retired. We will assign you a new name, a new home, and a new life as our thanks for your service. We spare no cost in protecting our retired agents. And because your life was in danger from what we asked you to do, we will reward you for the risk we asked you to take. Clara and Pumpkin, you need to say your goodbyes quickly, as this is going to happen fast. Sandy left to wait by the garden door. After a moment, Emberly stood up and followed Sandy, who thanked her for her help before she left. Clara laid a hand on Ludwig's head. Well, old fella, I guess you paid your dues, and I am so sorry that I wasn't able to keep you safe. I trust Sandy. She will do right by you. Take care, Ludwig von Hairball. If it is ever safe for you to come back, I will get you tuna and cream whenever you want. I will tell Sandy to make sure you get your treats. Clara stood up and walked towards the guest room. With the last wave, she left Pumpkin to say goodbye to Ludwig. Don't worry about anything, chum. Pumpkin hadn't moved from her spot on the floor. You're with the good guys now, and I'm going to make sure that you get all the nip you want, and it won't be the nasty stuff we used before. When you retire, it will be the good life for the rest of the 9 lives you have left. See you around, Ludwig von Hairball. Hey, Pumpkin, do me a favor, will you? Keep an eye on Clara for me. We didn't get off on the best start, but she kind of grew on me, and I don't want her to feel like I abandoned her. You've got it, Ludwig. I'll tell Sandy you care. I'll deny it to my last breath. Thanks. As Pumpkin turned and sauntered out of the room, Sandy came back to get Ludwig. As exhausted as he was from his ordeal, he didn't want to sleep, not yet. He wanted to be sure that the bad times were behind him before he settled in for his next catnip. He stood up and stretched to shake the cobwebs out of his head. He then let his elfin escort place him in a cart, and they wheeled him off into the night. Sandy closed the door and went to see Clara in the guest room. It's for the best. We need to protect him from the likes of Ruby and Violet. Sandy was trying to soothe her friend's fears. I failed him. I didn't keep him safe. Clara bit her bottom lip, and tears started rolling down her cheeks. No, you did everything right. If you hadn't found him, he might not be alive to go live out the rest of his days in the lap of luxury. You saved him from Violet and Ruby. They were planning to kill him. You couldn't have known that. Nobody would suspect things to turn out this way. Try to get some sleep. Sandy backed out of the guest room and closed the door. She felt a little bit silly, and she checked all the nooks and crannies around the room for spiders. Then she blew her nose and washed her face before crawling into bed. It took a while, but she finally drifted off to sleep. She woke up in the middle of the night with a start when she felt trapped. She realized that she had wrapped the sheet around her and giggled nervously as she untangled the sheet. She went back to sleep, feeling like she was safer there than in her cottage. Pumpkin spent the night outside her door, keeping watch over the guest for the night. And that is our story from Tish McWebber. Okay, Zombie Angel, that's the whole thing. What do you think? And you'll have to unmute.
Okay. That was actually really cool.
It was a great story, and it makes me cry. I don't know why it makes me cry, but it makes me cry when the kitty has to leave.
I like cats a lot, so having to give up my cat would really suck.
Yes, but I can honestly say on her next stories, Tish makes sure Ludwig is taken care of in the best ways.
That's good.
Yes, guys, please check out her series in the Fae Corps anthologies. There's so many stories to the series, and the ones I've read are from different members of the team's point of view. And the last one was from Sandy and another fairy's point of view, whereas this one was Ludwig's and Clara's and Amanda Lee. But you get to see this world from different characters' points of view. I so recommend all of them. Did you have a favorite part, Zombie Angel?
I'd have to say the nightmare part.
The horse part or the spider part?
I have to say spider.
I don't like the spider part. I have nightmares about spiders in general.
Yeah,
But
they're terrifying, but they're cool.
Oh, they're very cool, and they still give me nightmares. I do not wish waking up with a spider biting you on the inside of the nose to anybody, but this is how I woke up one day.
That's terrifying.
Yes. Yes, they are.
I woke up when I was like 8 or 9 with a stay long leg spider on my face, so I could just imagine, except worse.
And I actually live out here in the woods. There's more interesting spiders in the woods that I don't want to go play with. Because there's the trapped spiders on the floor of the woods. Those are fun and interesting, and I hope they stay out there.
Oh, by the way, if you take peppermint oil and put it around your windowsill and door frames, it'll keep spiders and a couple other bugs out.
Okay. It'll have to be more than just around there because I've found them in my lights in the bathroom before. So I think I'm going to have to add them up there as well.
I've been spraying it around my room once a month, and I've been seeing less bugs in general. The flies, yeah, they still bug you.
Exactly. But generally, spiders. I'm tired of them. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about your thoughts about the story? Favorite things that you didn't like?
I didn't really have anything I didn't like about it.
Okay. It makes me want more time to binge them all. Because it is a beautiful world she created and showed us. Okay, Zombie Angel, where do you want us to find you? What social media places?
I have a YouTube and TikTok, but TikTok's mainly me messing around.
Okay. I'm going to have to make sure I have the right links for that saved in the show notes. And
Okay.
if you guys would like to find me, come find me at Fae Corps, Owlite, at Friday with the Library in the Blue Box, and my author page, Jennifer Elliott. I would like to thank you all for coming, and thank you, Zombie Angel, for being here with me.
I was glad to be here. It was fun.
Oh, yeah. And be sure to wait after I hit end stream, please. And thank you again, Tish McWebber, for all your Tispration in my life. And I hope you all have a wonderful night.